My name is Jennifer, and I worked as an usher at the Regency Cinema from 2016 to 2018. It was my first job out of high school, minimum wage. But I actually liked it. Free movies, flexible hours, and most of the time it was pretty chill. Until that night in November 2017. I was working the closing shift on a Tuesday. Tuesdays were always dead, especially the late shows. We had maybe 3 customers total that night. The last screening was at 9:45 p.m., some indie horror film that had just come out. Only one person bought a ticket for it, a guy, maybe mid-30s, wearing a dark hoodie and jeans. He paid cash, didn't make eye contact, just took his ticket and went straight into Theater 7. My co-worker Danny was supposed to close with me, but he'd called in sick, so it was just me and my manager, Frank, a retired guy in his 60s who mostly sat in the office doing paperwork. The theater had 12 screens, but only 3 had showings that late. By 10:30, the other 2 had let out, and those customers had left. Just the guy in Theater 7 remained. The movie was supposed to end at 11:20. At 11:15, I went to check on the theater, make sure everything was okay. Standard procedure. I opened the door quietly, not wanting to disturb him if he was still watching. The credits were rolling. The theater was dark except for the screen's glow. I could see his silhouette in the back row, just sitting there. "Sir," I called softly. "Movie's over. We're closing up." He didn't move, didn't respond. I figured maybe he'd fallen asleep. It happened sometimes. I walked down the aisle, my shoes quiet on the carpet. "Sir, we need to close now." As I got closer, I realized he wasn't sleeping. He was staring at the screen. The credits had finished, and now it was just black. But he was still staring, completely motionless. My heart started beating faster. Something felt wrong. "Sir, I need you to leave." I was standing maybe 5 feet away now. He slowly turned his head toward me. Even in the darkness, I could see his eyes. Wide, unblinking, and he was smiling. Not a normal smile. Something forced, stretched too wide. "I paid for my ticket," he said quietly. His voice was flat, emotionless. "I can stay as long as I want." "The movie's over," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "The theater is closing. You need to leave now, or I'll have to get my manager." He stood up suddenly. He was tall, over 6 feet. I backed up instinctively. "You work here every Tuesday night," he said. Not a question, a statement. "I've seen you. You're always here. Always alone at this time." My stomach dropped. How long had he been watching me? "I'm getting my manager," I said, turning to leave. His hand shot out and grabbed my wrist. Not hard, but firm. I tried to pull away. He held on. "Don't go," he said. "We should talk. I know a lot about you, Jennifer." He said my name. My name was on my name tag, but hearing him say it made my skin crawl. "I know what time you get off work. I know which bus you take home, the number 42. Right?" I yanked my arm free and ran. Out of the theater, down the hallway, my heart pounding so hard I thought it would burst. I could hear him behind me, not running, walking, but his footsteps were fast, purposeful. I reached the lobby, where Frank was locking up the concession stand. "Frank," I shouted. "There's a guy. He grabbed me. He won't leave." Frank looked up, confused. "What? Where? Where?" I pointed toward the hallway. The guy emerged from Theater 7, but now his demeanor had changed completely. The smile was gone. He looked normal, confused even. "Is there a problem?" the guy asked Frank, his voice now friendly, concerned. "I was just watching the movie. This young lady seemed upset about something." Frank looked at me, then at him. "Sir, did you touch her?" The guy held up his hands. "No, officer. I mean, sir, I would never. I was just sitting in my seat." Maybe she got scared because the theater was dark. The movie was pretty intense. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. He was acting completely different. Frank didn't know what to believe. "Jennifer, are you okay? What happened?" I tried to explain, but the words came out jumbled. My wrist hurt where he'd grabbed it, but there were no marks. No proof. Frank asked the guy to leave, and he did. apologized for any misunderstanding, said he hoped I felt better, and walked out calmly, like nothing had happened. Frank drove me home that night, said maybe I'd just gotten spooked, working alone so late, but I knew what I'd experienced, the way he'd looked at me, the things he'd said. The next Tuesday, I called in sick, and the Tuesday after that, Frank eventually asked me if I wanted to switch to day shifts. I said yes. I never worked a closing shift again, but for weeks afterward, I kept seeing that guy, or I thought I did, on my bus, outside my apartment building, in the grocery store, always at a distance, always watching. I could never be sure if it was really him or if I was just paranoid. I quit the theater 3 months later, got a job at a coffee shop, daytime hours only. I never went back to the Regency, never went to late night movies anymore either, because I learned something that night. The scariest things aren't on the screen, they're in the seats around you, watching you, learning about you, waiting for the moment when you're alone. I reported it to the police, but without evidence, without his name, there wasn't much they could do. They increased patrols near the theater for a while. That was it. I still think about him sometimes, wonder if he found someone else to fixate on. Another girl working late, alone, vulnerable. I hope not, but I'll never really know, and that's what keeps me up at night, not knowing if he's still out there, still watching. I'm Marcus, and this happened when I was working as a projectionist at the old Riverside Theatre in 2015. Not many theatres still had projectionists by then. Most had gone digital, automated systems, but the Riverside was an old building, historic, and the owner insisted on keeping at least one person up in the booth during screenings, just in case something went wrong. The booth was on the 3rd floor, above the 2 main auditoriums. To get there, you had to take this narrow staircase from the lobby, then walk down a dim hallway. The booth itself was small, cramped, full of old equipment and the smell of hot film reels and machine oil. One small window looked out over the parking lot. Most of the time, I was up there alone. I liked the solitude, honestly. I'd put on headphones, monitor the films, make sure everything ran smoothly. On weeknights, there weren't many screenings, so I had a lot of downtime. I'd read, browse my phone, whatever. The job was easy, boring, even. Until I found the tapes. They were in a storage closet at the back of the booth, behind some old film canisters. VHS tapes, maybe 15 or 20 of them, unlabeled, except for dates written in marker on the spines. The oldest one was from 1993. The most recent was from 2008. I was curious. We had an old VCR in the booth, mainly for training videos. I figured these were probably old security footage, or something equally mundane. I popped in the tape from 1993, just to see the screen flickered to life. Black and white footage. It took me a second to realize what I was looking at. The auditorium, filmed from the back, near where the projector would be positioned. You could see all the seats, the screen at the far end. It was during a movie. I could see the light from the screen flickering across the audience. Maybe 30 people scattered throughout the theater. The footage had no sound, just the silent image of people watching something. I fast-forwarded. Nothing changed, just people sitting, watching. Then about halfway through the tape, something happened. One of the audience members, a woman in the middle section, stood up abruptly. She looked around, confused or agitated. Hard to tell from the grainy footage. Then she started moving toward the aisle, but not normally. She was stumbling, holding her throat. Other people started noticing, standing up, pointing. Some ran toward her, others ran for the exits. The woman collapsed in the aisle. People crowded around her. The footage continued for another few minutes, showing people panicking, running. Then it cut to black. I sat there staring at the empty screen. What the hell had I just watched? I checked the date on the tape again. October 15. I pulled out my phone, searched for any news about the theater from that time. Found an article from the local paper. A woman had died in the theater that night. Allergic reaction. Ate something with peanuts in it. Went into anaphylactic shock. Paramedics couldn't save her. I felt sick. Someone had recorded her death. Why? I should have stopped there, should have put the tapes back, pretended I'd never found them, but I didn't. I watched another tape, this one from 1998. Same setup, black and white footage of the auditorium. During a screening, I fast-forwarded again, looking for the moment, and there it was, about 20 minutes in. A man, older, in the back row. He suddenly clutched his chest, slumped forward. The people near him didn't notice at first. By the time they did, by the time someone ran for help, he wasn't moving. Heart attack, probably. Every tape was the same. Different dates, different people, but always the same outcome. Someone dying during a movie, and someone had recorded all of it. I felt my hands shaking. Who had done this? Why? I looked around the projection booth. Had it been one of the previous projectionists? How many people had worked here over the years? I should have gone to the police, should have shown them the tapes, but I was scared that whoever had recorded these might still be around, might be watching. I decided to just put the tapes back, finish my shift, and quit the next day. I started putting them back in the closet when I noticed something. There was space for more tapes, empty spaces, on the shelf, like some were missing, or like someone was planning to add more. That's when I heard the door to the booth open. I spun around. My manager, Bill, was standing there. He was in his 50s, had worked at the theater for over 20 years. He looked at me, then at the tapes in my hands. His expression didn't change. "You found them," he said quietly. Not a question. I didn't know what to say. My mouth was dry. "Bill, what are these? Why would someone record these?" He stepped into the booth, closed the door behind him. "It's documentation," he said. Like that explained everything. "Evidence of what happens here, this theater, Marcus. It's not like other theaters. People don't just come here to watch movies, they come here to die, and someone needs to keep a record of it." I backed up against the wall. "What are you talking about? You're not making sense." He moved closer, and I saw something in his hand, a small camera, modern, digital. "You've been here 6 months," he said. "Statistically, we're due for another one soon, and when it happens, I'll need to record it. That's the job, the real job." "You're insane," I said. My heart was pounding. I looked at the door. He was blocking it. "I'm calling the police." I pulled out my phone. He didn't try to stop me, just stood there, watching me with this calm, patient expression. "Go ahead," he said. "Tell them what? That you found old tapes of people dying in a theater? That your manager told you some crazy story? They'll think you're having a breakdown, or that you stole the tapes. Either way, you'll be the one in trouble, not me." He was right. I didn't have any proof that he'd recorded these. For all I knew, he could claim I'd brought them, my word against his. And he'd been here 20 years. I was just some kid who'd worked here less than a year. I put my phone away. "I quit," I said. "I'm leaving, right now." He stepped aside, letting me pass. "That's fine," he said. "Most projectionists don't last long, once they find out. But Marcus, remember something. You watched those tapes. You know what happens here, and if you ever come back to this theater as a customer, sit in the audience, and something happens to you, I'll be up here, recording, just like I always do." I left. Didn't even get my last paycheck. Didn't care. I never went back. Never contacted the police. What would I even say? I tried to convince myself. Bill was just messing with me. Some sick joke. But I couldn't shake the feeling that he was serious. That somewhere in that booth, he was still recording. Still documenting. Waiting for the next person to die. In theater too. I looked up the theater's history online. Over the past 30 years, at least 8 people had died there. Various causes. Medical emergencies. Mostly. It's not that unusual. Theaters are public spaces. People have heart attacks, strokes, allergic reactions. It happens. But 8 deaths in one theater. That seemed like a lot. Maybe it was just coincidence. Or maybe Bill was right. Maybe there was something about that place. I don't know, and I don't want to know. I work in IT now. Office job. No projection booths. No dark theaters. No tapes of people's final moments. I sleep better now, most nights. But sometimes I wonder how many more tapes are in that closet. How many more spaces Bill needs to fill. And I pray I'm never in the audience when he starts recording again. This is Sarah's story. She's my best friend, and she told me what happened to her back in the summer of 2019. She'd gone to see a late-night showing of some action movie at the multiplex downtown. It was a Saturday, around 11 p.m. The theater was about half full, maybe 50 people scattered throughout the auditorium. Sarah was sitting near the middle, alone. She'd had a rough week at work and just wanted to decompress with some mindless entertainment. The movie was loud, explosions and car chases, exactly what she needed. About 40 minutes in, she noticed a guy sitting 2 rows behind her, off to the left. She only noticed because he wasn't watching the screen. He was watching her. At first, she thought maybe she was imagining it. The theater was dark, after all. But every time she glanced back, there he was. Eyes fixed on her. Not the movie, her. She felt uncomfortable, but told herself she was being paranoid. Lots of people zone out during movies. Stare at nothing. Maybe she just happened to be in his line of sight. But then he moved, stood up, walked down his row, and sat directly behind her. Now she could hear him breathing, heavy, deliberate breaths. She turned around, planning to ask if there was a problem. He was leaning forward, his face maybe 2 feet from hers, smiling. "Enjoying the movie?" he whispered. His breath smelled like cigarettes and something sweet, sour. Sarah's heart started racing. "Could you please move back?" she said, trying to sound calm. "You're in my space." He didn't move, just kept smiling. "It's a free country," he said quietly. "I can sit wherever I want." Other people were starting to notice. A couple to Sarah's right looked over, concerned. The guy noticed them too. He leaned back slowly, hands up in a mock surrender gesture. But he didn't leave, stayed right there, directly behind her. Sarah couldn't focus on the movie anymore. She could feel him there. Every time she relaxed, even for a second, she'd hear him shift in his seat or breathe a little louder. She considered getting up, finding a staff member, but that would mean walking past him, up the aisle, and something told her that's exactly what he wanted, to get her alone in the hallway. She texted her roommate, "Weird guy at theater, won't stop staring, coming home soon." She wanted someone to know where she was, just in case. The movie dragged on. Every minute felt like 10. She kept checking the time on her phone. Still 30 minutes left, then 20, then 10. Finally, the climax. The hero defeated the villain, got the girl. Credits started rolling. The lights came up gradually. Sarah stood quickly, grabbed her bag, and moved toward the main aisle. The guy stood too, followed her. She walked faster, weaving between people who were still gathering their things. He matched her pace. Sarah reached the main aisle, headed for the exit. The crowd was thick here, people bottlenecking at the doors. She looked back. He was right there, 5 feet away, still smiling. She pushed through the crowd, finally made it to the lobby. Bright lights, other people, staff members at the concession stand. She felt safer here. She headed for the main exit, where she could see people walking to their cars in the parking lot. Freedom. But as she approached the doors, she felt a hand on her shoulder. She spun around. It was him, up close, in the light. She could see him clearly now. Mid-40s, unshaven, eyes bloodshot, and that smile. God, that smile. "Hey," he said, "you dropped this." He held out her phone. Her blood ran cold. She reached for her bag. It was unzipped. Her phone was missing. He'd taken it, in the theater, or just now in the crowd. She didn't know. "Give it back," she said, her voice shaking. "Sure," he said, but he didn't hand it over. Instead, he held it up, showing her the screen. Her text messages, her contacts, her photos. "You have a nice apartment," he said, conversationally. "That picture from your balcony. Great view. What floor are you on? 4th? 5th? Sarah felt like she couldn't breathe. She tried to grab the phone. He pulled it back. "Ah," he said, like scolding a child. "Ask nicely." People were walking past them. No one paid attention. Just another conversation in a busy lobby. "Please," Sarah said. "Give me my phone." He studied her for a moment, then handed it over. "There you go," he said. "See? I'm not a bad guy. Just wanted to talk. Maybe we could get coffee sometime. I know where you live, after all." That's when Sarah ran straight for the exit into the parking lot. She didn't look back. Her car was parked toward the back, under a broken streetlight. Stupid. Why had she parked so far away? She fumbled for her keys, her hands shaking. Behind her, she heard footsteps, running. She reached her car, unlocked it, threw herself inside, locked the doors. He was there, right outside her window, knocking. Not pounding, just knocking. Politely, like he was a friend, asking to come in. "Come on," he said through the glass. "Don't be like that. We were having fun." Sarah started the car, threw it in reverse. He stepped back, hands in his pockets, still smiling. She drove fast, too fast for a parking lot. She didn't care. She just needed to get away. She looked in her rearview mirror. He was standing there, in the middle of the parking lot, watching her leave. Not chasing, just watching. She drove straight to the police station, told them everything. They took a report, said they'd send an officer to the theater, try to get security footage, but the guy was probably long gone. They couldn't do much without a name or a license plate. They asked if he'd threatened her directly. She said no, he hadn't. He'd just been creepy, invasive, implied things, but no direct threats. The officer was sympathetic but honest. Probably nothing would come of it. They'd keep the report on file, told her to be careful, stay aware of her surroundings, change her locks if she was worried, maybe stay with a friend for a few days. That was it. Sarah stayed with me for a week. She did change her locks, started parking in well-lit areas, stopped going to movies alone. For a while she thought she saw him everywhere. On the bus, at the grocery store, outside her building, but she could never be sure. Maybe it was him. Maybe it was paranoia. 3 months later, she got a text from an unknown number, just a photo, her apartment building, taken from the street. No message, just the photo. She showed it to the police. They said it could be anyone, could be a wrong number, could be nothing, but they'd make a note of it. That was all they could do. Sarah moved 6 months after that. New apartment, different part of the city. She doesn't go to movie theaters anymore, watches everything at home now. Doors locked, curtains closed. She's always looking over her shoulder, always checking to see if someone's watching. The worst part, she never even saw the end of that movie. Can't remember what it was about. All she remembers is the feeling of being hunted, of being prey, and knowing that somewhere out there, he's still watching, still waiting, still smiling. That's the thing about these experiences. They don't need a resolution to haunt you. They don't need a dramatic ending. The not knowing is enough. The possibility that he's still out there, that he remembers her, that maybe, one day, he'll find her again. And next time, there might not be a parking lot to run to. Next time, she might not be so lucky. She told me this story as a warning. Stay alert. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. And never, ever let someone isolate you. Because the scariest monsters aren't the ones on screen. They're the ones sitting behind you in the dark. The ones who know that in a crowded theater, you're really alone. And they're counting on you not to make a scene, not to cause trouble, to be polite, to be quiet. Don't be. Scream if you have to. Run. Because a scene. Because your safety is worth more than avoiding awkwardness. Sarah learned that. She just wishes she'd learned it sooner, before he got her phone, before he learned where she lived, before he became the shadow that follows her everywhere, even when he's nowhere to be seen. That's her story, and it's true. Every word of it.